The blobfish is the most worthless life you can ever live. You are born 4,000 feet underwater in the abyss, looking around and trying to find your parents. But you quickly find out that they've already left, and you're just one of thousands of eggs your mum dumped in a gooey cluster on the seafloor. You wiggle your way out of the crevice and find yourself with a whole lot of nothing. And you soon realise that you're just a teeny tiny blob with fins so soft that even a small current could sweep you away. But thankfully there aren't many currents over here. After drifting around for a while, your stomach starts to grumble and you remember that you have to eat. So the first thing on your to-do list today is to find food. However, unlike other fish, you actually don't even have a stomach. Instead, you rely on your super slow metabolism that helps you make the most of anything that's floating in the water. Be it plankton, bits of marine snow, and pieces of organic junk. Well, that's not exactly the type of gourmet anybody would like to have, but hey, at least you got something to munch on. Oh, and by the way, you also can't swim, and the fins that you've can only help you in drifting, which means you're at the mercy of the ocean. Well, that sucks. So, with no other option, you open your mouth and suck whatever is floating in the water. Time drifts on, but instead of growing stronger, you just stretch out. Your body, which is more of a jelly than a muscle, is even more floppier than before. Now, your priorities have shifted, and your main goal is to avoid anything with teeth that might see you as a tasty snack. If you're thinking about defending yourself, forget that. You have no teeth, no spines, and no venom. Basically, you have nothing that can help you defend from the predators. Your only best move is to sink into the mud and hope you're as unappetizing as you look. Most of the time, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But lucky for you, predators are pretty rare down here. Also, who's going to take a bit of a squishy jelly out of all the other things? After a few more months of drifting, you're all grown up and look like a proper blobfish. And if there's one thing that you've learned a lot during the past few months, is the art of doing absolutely nothing. No hunting, no chasing, just float and watch the food enter your mouth. Honestly, you're nothing more than a floating rock, which needs something to fill its non-existing stomach. Not to forget you have also reached sexual maturity, which means you're at the peak of your life. Well, at least by blobfish standards. The mating season starts off with faint chemical signals, which lets you know it's that time of the year. Anyway, now you're tasked to find the girl of your dreams, and finding her is not going to be easy. But hey, at least you don't have to worry about your looks, as long you're too self-conscious about your appearance. Well, never mind. As a blobfish, you don't have to deal with all the dramatic courtship, fierce competition from other male blobfish, and rest of the stuff. Blobfish mating is purely business. Find a female, fertilise the eggs, and say goodbye to your children. But for that, you first need to find a female. And as you know, blobfish aren't exactly common, and the deep ocean doesn't help either. So the odds of bumping into a female is ridiculously low. Add to that, you can't go looking for one, as it burns a lot of energy, which is something you also don't have much of. So, like with everything else in your life, you wait and wait and wait, hoping that you find a female to link up with. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work, and you're now forced to glide through the ocean floor searching for a girlfriend. After a lot of gliding and waiting, you finally meet a female blobfish who's exactly your type. You quickly get along really well, and she starts laying eggs in a secret spot to safeguard it from the predators. Now, it's your turn to fertilise them, without screwing them up, of course. If you get it right, good job. If not, well, let's just say there goes your last shot of passing on your genes. Once you're done fertilising the eggs, your job is basically done and dusted. Now, all you've to do is simply glide away to take a bit of anything that's floating nearby, just like you always do. But suddenly you've this tiny nagging instinct to stick around and protect the eggs. Is it fatherly love? Maybe. So you hover around with your squishy body, doing whatever little you can do. Honestly, no one's really going to snatch the eggs, as they're not exactly a prized snack. But still you stick around. Days go by and you don't get to eat much, except the bit of debris that floats your way. By now you're all tired, and the whole guardian gig is turning pointless, as you're not fending off predators or helping the eggs grow faster. You're just there, floating and waiting and hoping a few of these blobs will make it and carry on your legacy. However, just then, you get caught by something which is pulling you up. You curse yourself for being too slow to dodge it, and too soft to slip through. But before you know it, you're already dragged out of the deep seafloor up to the surface. As the pressure drops, your body puffs up like a sad, squishy balloon. You quickly get surrounded by the surface dwellers, aka humans, who stare at you like you're the eighth wonder of the world. At first, you think maybe they're really impressed by your mighty feats of surviving in the abyss of the ocean. But before you know it, your smile turns to sadness as they start laughing at you, calling you the world's ugliest animal to ever exist. In their eyes, you're not a survivor or a wonder of evolution. No, you're simply a joke and a mascot for ugliness. If that wasn't enough, the guys that caught you drop you into this big tank, which is surrounded by even more people who start clicking pictures to show others how ugly you are. Yeah, for someone who used to roam the silent ocean floor, this is the worst possible thing to happen. Something worse than death.